Catflap Chats, episode 27. We are back again, and this week we have the lovely 2019 Voice finalist, Bethzienna. Thanks for coming on, pal. How are you?
You're welcome. I was waiting there. I was like, is he going to say Britain's Got Talent, X Factor? That's what I usually get.
Was it Pop Idol winner, Beth? Oh, shit.
Fame Academy.
Do you get that, do you?
Yeah, I've had it a few times. It's so funny. They say, Anne, a big thank you so much. And they like really big me up.
Yeah.
But then they obviously don't even know who I am. It's literally like, some of us been like, the winner. I don't think I want it. It's a complete different show.
Oh, mate, it's tough at the top now. You're up there with all the big end celebs. It's hard. And how many times a week do you get called Beth instead of Bethzienna as well?
No, everyone goes for the Bethzienna, but they get that wrong.
I can imagine. My boss is called Christy and everyone calls her Kirsty. She hates it.
Oh, yeah, I know.
Nasty. So what's going on in your world then? How's lockdown? What's going on?
To be honest, obviously I know I've got to be a bit sensitive about it because I'm aware that other people are going through a really difficult time, but loving it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think I'm just, to be honest, there's lots of different reasons why I'm enjoying it. One is because I can just be still, which I don't get the luxury of, which is, it's not a bad thing. Obviously, I love that I can just be here, there, everywhere. But especially last year, I just lived out of a suitcase. I was just in and out of hotels, staying at friends, was back and forth everywhere, and it was amazing. But I just really lacked my own space and like a routine. So this has been really nice for that. And also with regards to acting, I could get a call and it'd be like, you've got an audition tomorrow, you've got to prepare this, you're going to be going here, you're going to be going there, and I never, my lifestyle is so unpredictable that for once I know where I'm going to be for the next 3 weeks. Do you know what I mean? So I'm loving it. And I'm just using the time to I bought a piano just before lockdown commenced.
Okay,
so
nice.
I've been learning piano, I've been picking up the guitar again, I've just been writing, I've been learning how to produce my own stuff. Just all of the stuff that I've been wanting to do but I've been put on hold for ages. And just chilling and not feeling bad about it.
Well, no, the thing is, you shouldn't feel bad either. Obviously, everyone's circumstances is different, and some people find this part easy and normal life hard, and some people find it the other way. Don't feel bad about it. Try having a 7-year-old through lockdown, pal. That's interesting. Trying to homeschool. So, what have you? Take me back to the beginning, pal. Before the Voice and before everything else, and I mean, obviously, I see you in the gym if I ever go. You fit now and again, rarely. But take me back before that. How you got into it? What it is you were doing before all of that kicked off? Because obviously, you've been in load of different things.
I think it's something. I mean, it's something that I've always loved and I've always done ever since I've got sort of memories. I've always been really sort of artistic and creative, and that's always been where I've wanted to place my energy. So I've always dreamt of being a singer, a writer, an actress, and a performer, basically, a storyteller. And I think I've always done that. So it started obviously with I'm a Welsh speaker, so I went to Welsh language schools. So I was always involved in the Eisteddfod.
Yeah, where'd you go? Gladwell?
I went to Bron Morgannwg.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I was literally like I was the second year to have gone there, so everything was like brand new. It was like being in private school.
Yeah.
So I went to Bron Morgannwg, but I started competing in the Eisteddfod. Like, I don't even know what age they get you in there. About when I was 7.
Okay.
So got a taste for that sort of lifestyle, really, and preparing for things and being on stage and that sort of stuff. And then did a lot of work for S4C, filming wise, stuff like that. And then I think it really took a turn for me was when I was about 19 and moved to London, because I was like, I've got so far here, and I think for me, in order to progress in the industry, I've just got to go where it's at. So moved to London, got accepted into drama school. So I spent a year really traveling around auditioning for drama schools, and it's such a gruesome little journey that you've got to go on there. It can be a bit brutal. Did that, moved to London, went to drama school, spent 3 years training there. And whilst I was there, I was sort of gigging and trying to basically just trying to network in London, which was scary at first, but I managed to sort of get a few contacts here and there. So then I started going to the studio whilst I was there, started writing, and then graduated, got my agent, which I was really lucky to get. And then sort of started doing TV straight away, which was awesome. And then I was just in and out of the studio, just creating my own material.
Yeah.
And I mean, that was great. And then reality hit, and how hard it is started to come into play. And I was like, no one told me about this. I was like, no one told me about the bit where I'm unemployed.
Yeah.
You know, or where you're auditioning and you've got 6-7 rounds, and then it's like between you and someone else and you don't get it, and how you're supposed to deal with that. And that happening quite a lot, and that's just part of it. You do have to have a bit of a thick skin, really. Well, yeah, you definitely do. And with regards to music industry, I mean, it's just hard. It's just so up and down.
Yeah.
It's a massive, just a roller coaster. And I think it's hard to explain it to people unless you're sort of in something that's similar to that. I think people just think that you're like, why haven't you released anything?
Just think it's
or
easy.
How come you're not signed? You know, it's like black and white for a lot of people. But it's just not as easy as that. Especially now, in a great way. Obviously, music's so accessible to us now. We have all these platforms where anybody can release anything that they want, which is great. But also, it means that you're competing against so much material that's out there now. So to be seen and to be heard is even harder than it used to be. I
can imagine.
Yeah. So I think that's for me. That's why I wanted to do this show, because I'd been doing, bits of acting here and there, and I've been doing okay with music. But I just thought I just need something to make a bit more of an impact. Now in the industry, even in acting, it's all about numbers. The exposure that you've had, the name that you've got, how many people follow you, unfortunately. So I thought being on a show like that would probably boost that side of things. And it just happened. I didn't apply because I can't lie, because I know I've said it so many times to so many different people. Up until that point, every time somebody asked me, go on X Factor, I was literally so defensive. I was like, no. I was like, I don't agree with shows like that. Like, there's no credibility. But so I never applied. It just sort of, it was obviously last year I just thought I'm going to say yes, rather than overthinking things and thinking, no, that'll turn into that, and analysing. I just thought, I'm just going to go with the flow for, and see where I end up. And weirdly, the week that I'd sort of made that decision with things, I was contacted by one of the producers. And then they just said, we've been watching your music page, we've been following you for a while. We're in Cardiff tomorrow. We'd really love to see you. And I just thought, I'm just going to go then. It was a Saturday. We'll see what it's about. And I went, and I was just really, really, I was really skeptical of the whole thing, because I heard from friends about other shows. And I thought, last thing I want is someone trying to change me into something I'm not, or tell me what to do or sing or how to be. So I was quite cold in that sense. But it was honestly one of the best experiences ever. It was amazing, and the team were just incredible. They just really support authenticity and artistry, and they just encourage you to shine, basically, to just be the artist that you want to be, which is great. They don't try and mold you into anything.
That's class. And getting up to that point then, like what were you like as a kid going through school, and did you love school, and did you only do art and music and the creative stuff, or did you do everything? And then obviously, you know, what sort of person are you to be able to just at 18, 19 go, right, I'm going to London now and all that sort of stuff, you know?
Yeah. Well, I love school. Yeah, I did, just because I had so much fun. But with regards to the learning aspect, no. I don't know. I only realised the past few years. I just have, and I think that can be a problem. I think not everyone takes in information in the same way.
Yeah, of course.
And for me, if something's like monotone, I switch off. I switch off so easily. Like I lack the ability to focus, which is why I get like distracted really easily, which is why I'm like got a lot of energy. And for me, like when you're a class of 30 people and they're teaching everyone the same way, I just used to switch off quite easily. So it's only after I finished school that I started learning again and sort of taking myself back to school, because I think education is so important, and especially for me in the circles that I'm moving in or want to move in. I just think what you talk about and debate is so important, and just being as cultural as possible. And I've always loved history, so for me I started doing that after school, but in school like, it was just for me just a way to have fun.
Do you remember like kind of what influences you had as you were growing up, either musically or, you know, like your first couple of gigs, first songs that you learned and all that sort of stuff? Do you remember that stuff?
Yeah, I do. I was I loved old sort of classic musicals when I was a kid. Like literally the age of like 4 or 5, I was obsessed with like black and white big musicals, like MGM type musicals. And so that was always my thing. And I probably around 7 or 8, my mum used to say, you know, oh, if you have good attendance, then you know you go to school every day, because that was a problem. She said literally no talcum powder on the face, like Mum, I'm ill. You know, if you go to school, you know, at the end of the week, then we'll go and you can buy a tape basically. So I'd get to like rummage in the supermarket. They have these baskets of sales, like songs that were on sale, and so that's where I discovered all of the old classics, which I loved. So I loved jazz and blues. So I discovered like Dean Martin, Frank Sinatra, Chuck Berry, Fats Domino. So I just became obsessed with all that sort of style of music, really. So I used to do that, and then I was always in and out of shows. I just loved performing and being a bit of a clown. I just love like entertainment. Do you know what I mean? And I love escapism. I think sometimes reality really bores me, so I'm just like love that. And this week's thing as well, like as we get older, like I don't know, I just feel like there's so many rules, like society, like how you should act. And
being an adult is crap, mate.
I know. I'm just
Take
like,
me back.
Kid? Yeah. Why can't we go and play tag in the park? So I think it's that as well. But I think my earlier inspirations were definitely Elvis Presley was a big one. I think that's what kind of got me into wanting to perform. Was I saw Jailhouse Rock and I was obsessed with him. So then, I just sort of took myself down that path, really. And I was never really like veered away from it. They were my goals and ambitions from being a little kid. So I was quite disciplined in that sense. And I would always have rehearsals and groups and clubs that I'd be going to. And I'd always be, then I started working with a jazz band. So, you know,
And how old were you then when it started to come, not necessarily a career straight away, but where you kind of went away from actually, this is something that I can pursue, not just that I want to pursue, but actually there is an avenue I can carve out here if I take it seriously?
Yeah, I think I was about 13. I was doing a nice Stedford, and I was in a band at the time, a rock band. And I know I'd never do that now, but yeah, I was in a rock band, and it was called Battle of the Bands, and Carol Parry Jones was there, and she was part of a new show that was starting. So this is when Pop Idol was huge, so they wanted to do a Welsh language version.
Okay.
So it was Wow Factor. First one, and they ran a few after that, but it was the first one, so sort of like hit and miss. But that was a really great opportunity. So I was about 13, and I just went, and I got through to the finals with that, and it was me, and the runner-up was Duffy, and then
Drop
there
that
was
in there.
Yeah, I know. I was just like, I think she was about 19 at the time. So it was, so I did that, and then from that I got a management deal.
Yeah.
So then I started going. It was my first experience going in and out of the studio, working with producers, music engineers, working with writers. At that, I wasn't a writer then. So people would be writing songs, sending them in, and I created an album. And then I got to go to Berlin to do a little tour of the songs. I got chosen, so I went to the British Embassy. That was the first time I did that. Went to Paris with it, and so by then I was about 15. And then I went to London to sing for a group of people. They were A&R guys who'd flown over from the States, who were with Atlantic Records.
Okay.
And at the time, Michael Bublé was really big with his sort of modern jazz.
Yeah.
So performed for them, and then they'd said, we're really interested, we really want to work with her. Obviously, she's really young. We don't like the stuff she's done. They were like, we see her as a female jazz artist, and we really want to sort of mentor her and develop her. And it was bittersweet because, yeah, that was amazing. But my manager at the time wasn't happy with the fact that they didn't like the current material.
Okay.
So he'd thought, we'll just turn that down. We have plenty of other offers.
Yeah.
So that wasn't really with my best interests.
Was he getting pressure elsewhere then, obviously, was he? To keep
I think he was
stuff?
just very personally attached to the project,
yeah.
which you can't afford to be, you know.
Yeah.
So that didn't go through, and I mean, it was just a knock-on effect then. I think by then I was 17. My manager had turned that down, and he sort of had control over everything.
Yeah.
And I mean, at that point, you know, I was being told what to wear, how to be, how to sing every line, what to sing. And he got cancer, and literally it was just like such a quick downward spiral for him, and he passed away. And I mean, it was just I just remember it being a really tough year. I think I'd stayed on and to do my A-levels, but I'd finished, and I was like, well, you know, I just lost someone that had been with me for years, being a mentor, and told, you know, and also had control over everything as well. So not only it was losing him, it was losing everything that I'd built and everything I was doing. And I remember I went to the funeral, and one of the guys that was part of our team, I was like, listen, like, let's get a meeting together. Let's start working on really getting this stuff out there. And he went, no, you're past it. You're too old now. Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah, he was like, you're too old now. He was like, you know, especially being a girl, like, just, you know, we did our best, you know, we tried. So that's what I was like, right.
Brutal.
Yeah.
That's savage.
Really savage. I was like, this is depressing. That's what I was like.
Did you find that, like, as you're growing up, you're obviously growing up probably in a bit more of an adult's world there. Did you miss much of your childhood in terms of just going out with your mates and all that sort of stuff?
I didn't do any of that. But to be honest, I was loving it. Like, I didn't feel like I missed out.
Okay.
Because I was just doing what I loved doing, and I had focus, and it was exciting, and it was different. So I didn't feel like I missed out as much with that sort of thing, to be honest. And I made up for that when I moved to London. So, but yeah, no, and I think I've always been quite, I've always had quite a small circle of friends anyway. So, you know, they were sort of there, and I still got to have fun and stuff like that. But I know what you mean. I didn't do all the stuff like the house parties and hanging out with mates at the weekends and stuff, because I had to be in rehearsals and I had to be in the studio. So yeah, I suppose. And I was constantly always around adults and authority figures, just, you know.
Yeah, of course.
Speak. Which is why I think I was like, I just need to get away. I just need to move, leave. I just need to have a complete different surrounding, and I need to feel like I'm in control of what I'm doing.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that's what then led me to moving to London then.
How did, obviously music's played a massive part, but I know you've been in, you know, TV shows and various stuff like that. How did that acting come about then as well? Was that from the networking and meeting the right people, or castings, or?
Yeah, so acting is something that I've always done alongside my music, and I've always pursued that. And I think auditioning for drama schools, obviously I was just on the straight acting course, so you're working with amazing people, sort of a plethora of actors that have done so well, and it's all there at your fingertips, really. It was great. It's 3 years of just being in your own little bubble. I mean, it's intense, but yeah, so obviously at drama school then you're just with the industry's best people, really. So did 3 years at drama school, and then what you do a showcase in central London. So I did it at the Criterion Theatre, and they invite all of the agents. You have all of the acting agents that come, and then whether or not they want to ask you in for an interview and sign you and all that. And sometimes you're lucky and you've got a lot to choose from, so you just sort of you research who their clients are, what their history is, what work they've got, people and stuff like that. But I loved my agent straight away, and I was really lucky to sort of get work pretty quickly as soon as I graduated, actually, which was really exciting. But then I had a few years of just not having any success with auditions, and I think it's a tough one, because the bigger the gap is in your CV, the harder it is to get in the room.
I think it's the same in any job, isn't it?
Yeah, it's hard, you know, and I think it can be quite draining and exhausting, because you're going in and you're doing the best you can, but it can be down to the fact that, you know, they'll say to me, you've got blue eyes, and actually this character needs to have brown eyes. You know, it's so finical. Yeah, it's suddenly just like, okay, cool.
Cheers, pal.
Weeks, studying that part, but great.
How do you stay, like everyone I've spoken to so far always talk about mentality and mindset, and how do you, especially at a younger age as well, where probably life experiences aren't as big and have taught you as many things, how do you stay focused and not necessarily happy is probably the wrong word, but positive? And
positive,
how do you get through those lows to find the highs?
I mean, it's hard. It's literally like constant, you know, seesaw effect, because I mean, and I used to beat myself up about it, because I used to think, oh, why is this affecting me so much, or why am I feeling down right now? But it's like, now I just think, oh, chill. Like, of course you're going to feel down. You've just had 6 auditions and been rejected from all of them. Like, you're going to feel deflated, is normal. So now I have certain things in place that I know just keep me in a healthy mindset. So like keeping fit, exercising, just checking in as well. So just readjusting where I'm at, where I want to be, just constantly like visualization. That's really important for me. Reading, and also just having some sort of a routine, I've found, is really, really important. And I don't think what else, because I do have moments where I just don't feel motivated, or I feel sorry for myself, and that's not going to get me anywhere. So I just try and really snap out of it, because I think if you want things to change, then you've just got to have such an energetic and positive mindset is really important. So that's why I listen to a lot of podcasts.
Yeah.
And
Don't listen to this one, it's crap. Your episode would be alright, but the rest of them are shit, mate.
Yeah, but I think, and also talking to people. I think I'm quite lucky in the sense that I've got a lot of friends that are in the same boat and that are in this industry. I've got a mix of, dancers, actors, directors, writers, singers. So it's like, it's just good to talk to people and not pretend. I think also I've taken a leaf out of my brother's book. I think he's just given up having a filter in society. He's like, you know how people just say, hey mate, how are you? You're right. And some people, they just say it to say it, but he goes, not good. And they're like, don't know how to take it. I think it's so good to just say it as it is. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, you can walk down the street now and just go, oh, how you doing? Just like walk past someone and they'll just put their head down and just fuck it. Like, who's this alien smiling and talking to me? Honestly, it's mad. It's mad. I listened to a TED talk the other day and it was just about the power of smiling more. And I listened to it and I was just like, that's amazing. Because especially in our job where you just meet so many people, everyone's just so cynical and miserable.
I know, miserable. That's the thing. And I mean, as I'm getting older as well, I'm just like, people I can't be dealing with them. I think, lighten up.
Yeah, life's too short, mate. Honestly, life's too short.
I know you've got. I think also as well, you've got to be able to take the piss out of yourself. Yeah. You can't take yourself too seriously. I think that's key as well.
Fair play. What's take me back to sort of the voice then. You mentioned that earlier and obviously getting starting that up. Take me through that whole experience and what it was. Because I unfortunately, I know, I did one of these with Thea. I don't know if you know Thea from UFIT, actor, did you'd know him.
Yes.
So, I spoke to him about like on the acting side and auditioning and just waiting for that big break and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
I have got no clue apart from, again, we did one with Sophie Evans talking about the West End and her roles there and stuff. I've got no clue about a show like that. How does it work? What's the whole experience and what have you got to do for it?
Well, so they have their scouts. So, I mean, they start auditioning people. They start doing open mic nights probably about a good, 6 months before they get to the blind audition. But if you're scouted, you're lucky because you sort of skip all of that. And you get in front of one of the producers, vocal coach, and a couple of vocal coaches. Mine was in Cardiff, and it was when I was home that week. Where was it? Holiday Inn, hotel, motel.
Classy.
This is the life.
You're painting the picture here, mate.
I know. And the Holiday Inn is literally in one of the hotel rooms.
Oh, I bet it was.
Just took the beds out.
Yeah.
I was like, this is good. And was because I was
like casting couch.
Because I was so set on nobody's going to change me. No one's going to make a fool out of me. I was like, probably just came across like a bitch. When I was like, what do I need to fill in? I was like so cynical about the whole thing. I think I was just so fearful of the unknown. Anyway,
had you built up a bit of a prejudice on those shows, and you see people like Noel Gallagher, for example, come out because they're manufactured pop stars. They're not real music artists, and they're not really talented. Did you build a bit of that up?
I think I was just really, really I'd formed an opinion, which I was pleasantly surprised to find out that I was wrong, which is great. So anyway, when it was sort of a hard face, and also I was used to auditioning for musicals, so I'd prepared sheet music.
Okay.
And I had my little sheet music, and I'd walked in, and I thought I'd give this to the pianist, he can play. And I was like, I wanted him to start, and I walked in. Oh, that's it. Just before I went in then, and I was like, oh, I had a little name badge.
Yeah.
I was like, oh God. And then they went, what's that? And I said, oh, my sheet music. And they said, okay, are you going to be playing piano? I said, no.
Where's my pianist?
Yeah, I know. I was like, oh, I'll give it to the pianist. They were like, there is no pianist.
Shit.
Okay. Yeah, they were like, you just need a backing track. I was like, oh my God, I haven't prepared for that. I was like, oh Jesus. So then I was like, I'm just like, you know what? I've got backing tracks of songs that I've written. So I'm just gonna have to sing 2 of my own songs.
Yeah.
Because I had no time. They were like, you literally need to go in. So I went in and they were lovely and sang, and then I didn't hear anything for like a month. And so because I'm used to auditions for, you know, TV and film and stuff, if you don't hear anything, that's a no. So I just thought I didn't get that. And then about a month later, I got a call from one of the producers saying, we'd really love you to come to London and see you for the next round. So I thought, oh, okay. So did that, and then it's like everybody's in the room. So there's about 10, 11 of the team there. And you singing about 5 different songs.
Are there like Tom Jones and all that there at that point, or
No, they're not there.
Yeah.
It's just all the production, and I'm trying to think what else. Yeah, so then you've got to sing about 5 songs, and maybe they'll test you and they'll say, hey, we'd like you to try this one to see how you are on the spot. Did that, and then there was another round, I think, and then the next round to see if you're sort of ready to go to get to do the blind audition, which I actually think is really great because obviously it was with ITV. Now ITV are also the ones that do Love Island, and I think a year before that there'd been the first sort of suicide that had come from that show. Yeah. So ITV now are very sort of on top of their well-being, which was really great. So I had to meet with the counsellor and answer all their questions. Basically, you know, how would I be if I didn't get a turn? How would I be if I got so far and it didn't work out for me? Just seeing if you're mentally strong enough really for it, or strong enough's not the right thing to say.
I suppose you can't train for that, can you? Yeah.
And I remember being really honest, and she said, oh, how would you feel if you get through now to the blind audition? It's televised, you know, 5 million viewers, and you don't get a turn. And I thought everything in me is saying I should probably lie and just be like, do you know what? It is what it is. Like, because I thought, oh, I'll just be straight. I was like, I don't know. I honestly don't know. I was like, I've worked my whole life towards sort of a moment like this, and it would crush me. And can't lie and say that I wouldn't be like, oh God, that was horrifying.
Yeah.
But I said, but you know, I think that with the career that I've had previous, where I have had a lot of you know, rejection, and I've been able to deal with that. So you have that, and then it's the big one, and then you have to go to Manchester.
Yeah.
And I was petrified. I didn't sign the contract till the last minute because I was supposed to have signed them ages ago. I was like, I don't know if I want to do this. So I was
what was that? Nerves, scared? What was it?
Yeah, fear. I was just like, what if I'm going to be so embarrassed? I was like, what if like everyone's going to see? It's fine, because it's fine in your own trials and tribulations because no one's seeing them. No one sees you when you have this fall. You know, when you have failures, so to speak. But I thought everyone's going to see this. I was like, and also I think just that as well, pinning all your hopes on that and nobody turning. Brutal. So I was just like, oh. But then they ran me. They were like, Beth, if you don't sign these contracts, you can't do it.
Yeah, so you have to take a leap of faith. When I was single, one of my mates like, go and take me out, and I was like, mate, I could not come down that lift. I'm Mike, you know, from Cardiff. Like there's 30 lights gone. I'm just stood there like, oh, you fucking pricks. Imagine that would have happened to me as well, 100%.
That's got me.
Oh mate, honestly, imagine blackout. That 30 beats of Blackout, and then he sings you off to Rakid. Off out of Cardiff.
Oh, it's terrible. Oh, yeah. I know a couple of people who've got on that. It's so funny.
Yeah, me. I know one or two.
It's
Probably know the same.
hilarious.
Yeah, it's
It's so
interesting.
funny.
So what was that? What was that first? Was it the live show where you've got the blind audition? You've got the 4
Yeah.
judges there. You obviously
Yeah.
haven't met them beforehand. Then
Oh,
what goes through your head before you walk out? How do you prepare for something like that? You know, like
yeah.
I know nothing about how learning to sing, right? To me, the more I sing in the house, the better I might get. Do you know what I mean? If I try and sing that note, I might be able
Yeah.
to do it one day. I haven't got a clue, right? How would
Yeah.
you practice for stuff like that?
So we had so I got to give them sort of 3 songs that I would like to sing, and then they pick their final 2, and then we decide together. So I was like, oh, this is not what I expected. I thought they'd be like, this is what you're singing.
Yeah.
So I was like, this is good. So I chose my song, and then we have like 3 rehearsals. We have a lot of time. We have 3 rehearsals in London with the band, and changing it if you're not happy, changing the key if you're not happy with that. You work with a vocal coach constantly. So I was really like, do you know what? I also thought if I'm going to do this, I just want to use, you know, everything that's going to be around me. So if I have the best vocal coaches, then I am going to want to take everything I can from that. So, you know, they tell me what I need to be doing, different techniques, work that I need to do, how many times I need to sing a day to get my stamina up and improved. Diet, I had to change my diet as well. So all these things which were great, and but I mean that actual day is just horrible.
How do you stop your legs shaking from just nerves? How do you do?
You don't. I was like shaking the whole time. It's so funny because other people, when they after they watched it, they was like, "You looked so confident." I was like, I couldn't breathe. I was just like, my whole body was shaking. I remember like thinking, oh, if I hold the mic with one hand, because I think that's why I asked for a stand, because I was like, I don't want someone to see me like.
Yeah.
So
It's
like,
nothing worse when someone's got papers and they're just shaking like that,
yes,
and you can hear them,
just
hear them
feeling what
rattling.
gives way. So I was like, can I have a stand so I don't have to be like, but yeah, and you have a few rehearsals, and you when you go to Manchester, you rehearse on the stage, you do a run through, but they're not there, the coaches aren't there, so you've never seen them before. And then you get called up and you're just waiting. And I was the last to be seen out of it. It ran over 4 days. So I think they had 100, they saw 100 each day. And I was in the last,
Jesus.
yeah, I was on the 4th day, and I was in the last, I think it was like the last 40 or something. And I'd already heard about how many spaces that had gone, and I was like, because very few spaces left. I was like, great, because and you're asking and you're trying to check, and you're like, okay, how many spaces does so have? How many? So I was like, and I think Jennifer Hudson had 2 spaces left, and the other, I think Will didn't have any. Tom had 1 or 2. I was just like, oh my god. So yeah, and you have to wear a poncho throughout the day just in case you spill anything. So you're just rattling around in this plastic, and then you go on,
Sweating.
yeah, and you go on stage and you're standing in the wings, and I was just like, oh. And I think I'd got friendly with one of the girls before me, and she'd gone on, and then ended up singing with Jennifer Hudson, and I was like, oh my god. And I started visualizing. I was like, imagine if I got to sing with Tom. Like,
Yeah.
that's my hero. Like, what?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I went on, and I couldn't even swallow. I was like, oh my god, my voice is gonna break. Like, it's so dry. I forgot the words. I was thinking, what the hell? What's the words? Like, because you just freeze. And I think that's another thing. People always ask, like, oh, how do you deal with nerves? Like, you don't. They'll always be there. If you care about something enough, you will always be nervous, and that's that. You just have to be like, okay. But yeah, and then obviously started singing, and I think I was like, I'm just not going to look at the chairs. I'm going to have to just stare at the audience, because if I'm still, that's just not going to do any good for me. And I think I was like towards the end, a few lines, and I looked and I thought no one had turned. was like, oh, that's it. Done. Great. Brilliant. My worst nightmare. And I just sang the last note and I thought, well, there you go. Done it. So I turned and then I just saw her chair like slowly moving. But I was really confused because I was like, is that just, they're just going to start turning around now because this is over? Genuinely. And I remember that the original clip it looks like I'm not even that pleased because I was just like, I was thinking, I don't know if she's turned or not. Yeah, and then obviously went on to sing with Tom Jones, which was like amazing.
Yeah, you had a bit of an up and down roller coaster ride with this, didn't you? Because obviously you were out then in and out then in.
I know, I really did. Yeah, I know, and I was just like, but you know what? I mean, I look at that now and I think like whenever I have moments where I think, oh, I don't think I've got it in me to do that, or I don't think I could take that risk. I just think about that and I'm like, yeah, I can do this. Because I just think it was so up and down, you know. I wasn't picked. Then, you know, I was like, I barely got a turn in the blind, and then she let me go, and then Tom let me go. So the fact that then it was the public that voted me to come back and the public that voted me to get to the finals, I was like, that's amazing. It was really emotional for me because I don't think I don't reach out to many people with things like that. And to know that putting myself out there, people liking me, was just really overwhelming. It was just really nice. It was great.
Who was a good name, the girl who won it? Was it Molly? Is that right?
Molly, yeah.
Yeah, did you give her a chin in after and fill her in, or?
No, do you know what? She deserved to win. I think she'll get the most. I genuinely think that, because I'll tell you why. Because a lot of the contracts, you're there for a good few years being mentored, working on your art and what you want to be doing.
Yeah.
And she's so young that like she's the one that will benefit the most out of all that they can do and give. I genuinely believe. And for me, I was like, I need to remember that I wanted to do this to just get the exposure.
Yeah.
So I left just feeling really happy. And also I wasn't, you know, I just like tried to look at all the positives, and I'm like, I'm not tied into anything. I'm not tied into any contract. I can still have freedom. So, you know, I can run things the way I want them to be ran. I can put a team together, which is what I was doing last year. You know, and then have more control over what I want to be doing, really, or how I want to be running things. So, you know, I just think everything happens for a reason, and yeah, I don't know. I didn't feel down at all. I didn't feel like negative. I felt down when Tom Jones kicked me out. I'll agree to that.
What was it like singing with him?
Amazing. So good. That's been one of my dreams ever since I was a kid.
Yeah.
I used to sing all of his songs as if we were singing duets when I was younger. So to actually have it happening, and twice.
Yeah.
Anything is possible. Literally.
What are they like? What are the four of them like?
Tom Jones is literally just like one of the lads. He's just such a typical Welshman. I mean, it's so honestly, like the fact that he's a sir, and the fact that he has performed and worked with so many icons and legends, you just wouldn't think it. He's so laid back, and he's just amazing. Like when it all finished, me and Dina, who was also on his team, we went to his dressing room. He's like, come to the dressing room, we'll have some champagne, and opened the door, and him and Ollie were like chatting by his mirror, and everyone was there, and he literally had his shirt open, like all his chest hair, some gold medallion, champagne. It's so funny. What a legend. And Jennifer Hudson.
You'll get wrecked together after.
Do you know what? I didn't. Because I'm a massive family person, and that your family weren't allowed to go to the after party.
Okay.
I just felt really bad. I was like, all my family have come up, they're at the hotel, and I'm here. Like, do you know what I mean? So I did go. I stayed for about an hour, And then I went back and celebrated with them at the hotel.
Yeah.
But yeah, the coaches just amazing, like really humble, and what you see is what you get type of thing. Like they don't. To be honest, I was a bit like, oh, they're just putting on an act. They don't really,
Yeah,
but they
yeah.
do. They do care, and they're just what nice people. You can see why they've got as far as they've got.
Will.i.am seems like a cool character. Seems like a cool bean.
He's just so chilled.
Is he?
He's really chilled.
You
Yeah.
can be when you're that famous. Just whatever, innit?
Yeah. He's
Don't worry about it.
yeah, okay, girl. Whatever, girl. Literally.
So, what have you been doing since then, and what's next for you?
So last year, I'm aware. I was like, you know what? I'm aware that as soon as the next show comes, your last year's news. So I've just got to try and like really ride the wave, which is why I was like, come this January, I was like, I just feel exhausted. So I took every sort of gig that was coming my way. I went out to Berlin a couple of times, did a few events there, and I was in the studio non-stop co-writing with different writers and producers, because I think when I finished the show, I was like, do you know what? I know what artist I want to be. I know the type of genre that I want to create. I know what I want to write about. So I just scrapped all of my old material, started fresh. So I was just doing that, really, creating material, and also just getting the right team together to basically go it alone. And in and out of meetings, which was great, just getting the right people on board. So now everything was in place for the next step, and then there's a pandemic. So
It's all paused.
yeah, but there we go.
They'll come back. We're obviously you've got your YouTube channel and your stuff on Spotify as well, haven't you? I'm sure I've got you on there.
Yeah. But all of my new stuff, none of it's obviously, none of it can be shown yet. But I'm releasing a single.
Okay. Nice.
So that was what was going to be happening. A actual commercial radio release.
Yeah.
So I've got a couple of meetings this week and next week to just know where we're at with regards to timeline, because I'm not going to do it during this time, because I personally just don't think that because I'm not a household name. I'm not someone who can just, I need that exposure. I need that face-to-face opportunities, going into radio stations, gigging, performing. So I'm just like, I'm going to wait until the time's right,
That's exciting though. It's good, that is.
Yeah.
I like that. Well, look, I really appreciate you coming on. It's fascinating to see the backstory and what happens behind the scenes and all the other stuff. All the other stuff that's going on. Well, what we'll do is I'll put a link to what's your YouTube and your Spotify name? So we'll put a link to it on the
Bethzienna.
Perfect. And hopefully when things get back to them, we'll probably see you in the gym if I ever go again. But when you're a big superstar, we'll get you back on and we'll chat about how many platinum records you got and how many number ones you had. That's
the attitude. I like it.
Hey, we've got to be positive about everything. Otherwise we'll all be crying. Hey, really appreciate you coming on. And
thanks, mate. Thanks for having me. I enjoyed it.
No worries. Hey, look, I'm happy just to listen, pal. Happy days.
Literally, my throat is so much like I have just been talking about myself.
That's the whole point. What else are you going to talk about? I'm boring, mate. No one wants to hear about me. I'm a boring bastard. So yeah, thank you very much. Appreciate it. That was episode 27, Catflap Chats. Big thanks to Tiny Rebel Brewery, who provided beers as always. And big thanks to everyone who downloads and subscribes. We'll obviously tag Bethzienna and all her socials when this goes live. And if there's any feedback, feel free to fire it at me on Twitter or Instagram, or call me a bit of a twat or whatever. It's all good. See you next week, guys.